right. I'll lead us off with the money position. It's got to happen. I want to talk about Kyler Murray. This is a little bit of a cheat. So I'll get this one out of the way first because it's a little bit of a cheat. Because what's Kyler really bouncing back from? It's obviously his injury. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
It's him bouncing back from being away from our fantasy lineups for the first 9 weeks of the season. But if you were courageous enough to pick up Kyler Murray over the last few weeks before he got the legitimate pull up into the active roster, you were rewarded with a borderline top 10 fantasy finish in his very first week back. And I was very excited. We'll talk about this down the road. I was excited for what he would do with his pass catchers, namely Marquise Brown. Well, that didn't all bear out. Seeing Kyler Murray himself be unlimited, as another quarterback in the NFL would say, on the ground, the dude was rushing all over and looked like injury what? Like that, it feels like a Berenstein Bears kind of thing of like, did that really happen? Did the injury actually happen, or did we make that up in our collective conscious? It did happen. But Kyler Murray looks so unaffected. And yeah, there's some little bitty bits of rust that we have to worry about in terms of his connections. You know, he just overthrew Marquise Brown in the end zone. Not that I was tracking that diligently, but he did make just a couple of off throws. And, you know, honestly, that comes with the territory with Kyler anyhow. It's not like he's this amazingly accurate quarterback. He's very good, but you want his legs, and we saw those legs come back. So going from, I think he was QB 12 this past week, if I'm not mistaken, I would expect him to be a top 8 quarterback for the rest of this season. And it feels like maybe he's still the matchup proof guy that he once was. I would rather have Kyler Murray starting for me the rest of the season than Lamar Jackson. And I have both of these guys in our home league, but I think I'll
That
be
is a
making a
spicy
pivot.
take.
Yeah, Lamar,
That's
he's had some ups and downs, but Kyler should be straight ahead, I think.
Yeah, and you know they're not that great a team, so you know they're going to be trying to score points. They're probably going to be playing from behind the rest of the way out here. So yeah, I like that. I mean, I don't think it's that big a cheat because he's only played 1 week, and we really didn't know what to expect. We didn't know if he was going to come back this season. Let's be honest. There was always that possibility that they would have just sat him for the entire season, and it would have been a lost year for him. So the fact that he came back. Basically, as soon as the window opened, he was, cleared to play and given zero restrictions. I think that's great. And yeah, moving forward, yeah, he should easily be within the top 10 any given week here moving forward. And that's just being conservative on my part. But I really like that call. Not surprised that you picked him because you were on that bandwagon weeks ago going to pick him up. So, yeah, I like that one a lot for you.
All right. Who do you like? You don't have to stay at quarterback if you don't want to.
I'll stay at quarterback just, for consistency purposes here. And this, I'm going to tell you, I struggled. I really struggled out of all the positions. This is the one I spent the most time on because there were some other ones that I was like, I looked at like T-Law or Burrow, that have had up and down seasons, or with Burrow had a very slow start to the season. But when I started looking ahead at their schedules, I did not like what I saw for the fantasy playoffs. And so I kind of shied away from them. So for those of us that are joining us live here, if you're watching it on YouTube after the fact, you can see that my quarterback is Baker Mayfield, which I know sounds gross. It does. It's Baker. Like you can't trust him. He's been a journeyman, but he has surprisingly been playing well this year. I got off to a little bit of a slow start, but in the last, let's say, out of the last 6 weeks, 5 weeks, he's been a top 11 quarterback. Can you believe that, Jake?
No, I actually refuse
true.
to.
It is true. This is his last 6 games. The bye week was thrown in there. He finished 7, 26, 11, 10, 7, 10. He's been throwing outside of the week where he finished 26 overall. He's basically been throwing multiple touchdowns a game. I will say if you play in a league like our home league where you get penalized severely for like sacks and interceptions, maybe not the guy you want, but more of a standard PPR league where you don't get penalized so harshly for that. I think he's going to be a really good pickup. You look at his schedule, while it's not like the easiest schedule in the world, it's definitely beatable. He's got a tough one coming up this week against San Francisco, so I don't know that I'd start him this week. But then the rest of the season, you got Indianapolis, you got Carolina twice, Atlanta, Green Bay, Jacksonville, New Orleans, all beatable teams. And he's got big players. He's got Mike Evans. He's got Chris Godwin. He's got Kate Otten, who he loves to find in the end zone, apparently. So I think there are a lot worse options. And this is a sneaky guy that's probably still on your waiver wire that you're not going to have to clamor to try to spend your fab to get him. You could probably just pick him up for free.
Yeah, I think I saw Baker was rostered in about 30% of ESPN leagues for what that's worth. That is kind of a good average, I think, to look at. So yeah, I think he's
Mhm.
widely available. I do love him as a streaming option at worst.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess he's not he doesn't even have to bounce back as much as I thought he did because he's been okay up until this point. But I would love to see us get the stretch of dangerous Baker Mayfield that we had for
Mhm.
such a brief and fleeting time in fantasy his rookie season. So if we can get anywhere close to that, I'll be psyched.